You hear people complain a lot nowadays about constant sequels and remakes being released instead of movie studios coming up with original ideas. But why is that? I thought with Disney's Moana remake coming out soon and the 5th and 6th Avengers movies on the way, now would be the best time to do a video on the topic. We'll start with Before we get into the main point here, I'll give you a little background on how streaming services as a concept began. Back in the mid-ish 2000s, these guys had a bit of a problem with Blockbuster's movie rental gimmick. They started a DVD by mail service where they would just send you the movie you wanted to watch in the post, and all you had to do was send it back when your rental time was up. You didn't have to find a store near you and hope they were open or anything like Blockbuster made you do. They called this service Netflix, and eventually it got so popular that they got licensing rights and all the other businessy stuff to stop having to send out the videos entirely. You just paid a subscription fee and you could watch whatever you wanted on the Netflix site. Since then, tons of other TV channels and studios have followed suit, like the BBC with their iPlayer and Disney with Disney+. But this brings us back to the issue of known IPs and their prevalence over original ideas. Since streaming services are based on the concept of movie rentals, you have to choose what you want to watch. You have to decide what you're going to spend your maybe couple of hours of free time on a day, rather than letting a TV guide pick for you. Streaming does have its benefits though. Since movies come to streaming so soon after their release, why would you want to go to the cinema? Cinemas, or movie theatres for the Americans watching, have a similar issue to streaming services. With the cost of just living on this planet rising for everyone, moviegoers have to be much more selective with what they watch. This means that, for a lot of people, they would rather spend their money going to see a film from a series they recognise rather than an unknown IP or an indie film. This is why films by lesser known creators seem to be less supported, because people simply don't have the money to support them. Speaking about cinemas, the technology used to make films for cinemas have changed dramatically. Equipment for the films being made today has made studios increase their film's budget ridiculously. Massive IMAX cameras cost thousands to produce, and so there are not many of them, leading to them having to be rented for film shoots for months, even years at a time, pushing the budget even further. Not only that, but the amount of sound equipment on set has increased. Tiny lavalier microphones can be hidden on an actor's costume, and larger sets need more boom mics to pick up the relevant audio. This also has the result of film studios having to hire more sound mixers for films, as the audio levels are constantly being played with in post-production due to actors mumbling and the volume of Foley, like explosions or footsteps, needing to be given their respective weight. Add on to this the insane amount of CGI and green screens in films nowadays, and the amount of people who have to work on it, and the budget will increase a lot. If you want to learn more about how sound equipment affects films nowadays, you should watch Why We All Need Subtitles Now by Vox. It's a very good video and goes deeper into this topic. But what's with all the talk of budgets? Why does that matter for this conversation? The biggest flaw the film industry has right now is that their projects are simply too big to fail. Production costs for crew, equipment and actors have pushed the budget higher, and so they spend too much money to take risks that might lose the money. Another example of this is in the marketing of these films. Because they spend so much on the actual production of the film, they have to ensure that enough people will see it just for them to make their money back. This means that they will oftentimes double the film's overall cost just to market the film, which is why things like floating head posters have become so common. They just can't risk it. This is shown worse through the MCUification of the film industry though. Since the success of Marvel's cinematic universe made Disney billions, every other studio wants to replicate that same level of success. That means that any time one project is successful, they milk the franchise until its death just to make sure they have a guaranteed moneymaker. This isn't just for the franchise though. Oftentimes when a studio sees a certain topic or genre is popular, they will pump out their own version to try to profit off of the other one's success. This is why there seems to be so many medical and police shows running concurrently with each other. It's this fear of taking risks and losing money that has had the film industry in a chokehold in recent years. That's why all you seem to see are remakes and sequels now. In conclusion, do I think the state of the film industry and their propensity to make sequels and remakes is a good thing? No, absolutely not. But unfortunately, with billionaires running and funding it all, the art is put aside for business. So what do you think about it all? Are you a fan of the sequels and remakes coming out? Do you have any indie film recommendations? Let me know what you think in the comments and if you have any ideas for next month's video. But until then, I'll see you next time.